Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Chapter 1 from Wings of Fire by APJ Abdul Kalam. Abdul Kalam was born in a middle class Tamil family and he was born in the island town of Rameshwaram, and his father's name is Jainulabdin, and he is a person who was not much educated or not very rich, but he was a person of full of wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. And his mother Ashima was such a nice mother and also an excellent wife to Jainulabdin. And Kalam says that he cannot say how many people she will feed every day because she will feed outsiders more than the number of people who were staying in the house. And he says that his parents were best ideal couple, and in his mother's family, her ancestors had won the title of Bahadur by the British. And he says that he was one among the many children who were in the house, not of a very good looks, though his parents were tall and handsome. And they lived in their ancestors' house, and the house should have been built somewhere in the 19th century. But it was a very large house made out of limestone and brick, and that was situated in the Moss Street in Rameshwaram. And he says that his father used to avoid all the comforts and luxuries, but definitely provided the necessary things for life, like food, medicine, and clothes. And he feels that his childhood was both materially and emotionally very, very secure. And he always will sit and eat with his mother on the floor in the kitchen. His mother will keep a banana leaf and she will put rice and sambar, and she used to make a variety of pickles that she used to serve, and she used to make nice fresh coconut chutney which he loved a lot. And the famous Shiva temple of Rameshwaram, where many pilgrims will come and visit, was only 10 minutes walk from his house. And in his locality, many Muslims and a few Hindi families were there, and they all lived in a very good atmosphere. And the old mosque was there in the locality, and his father used to take him there for prayers every evening. He never understood the meaning of the Arabic prayers he chanted, but somehow he thought that his prayers was definitely reaching God. And whenever his father used to come out of the mosque after prayers, people of different religions will be sitting outside waiting for his father. And they will be having a bowl of water in which his father will dip his fingers and say a prayer. And this water they used to take home for the people who are sick and invalid. And he also remembers these people coming and visiting their home and thanking their father because that water had cured their relatives, the people who were in the house who were sick. And his father will always smile and say, "Don't thank me, thank Allah, because He only showed His mercy on these people." And the high priest of Rameshwaram temple, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, was a very close friend of Abdul Kalam's father. And he remembers in his early childhood how these two men will sit and they will discuss about the spiritual matters. And after growing a little old, he used to ask his father about prayers. And his father told him, when you pray, your body will reach and become a part of the cosmos. And that time your body will not know any divisions of wealth, age, caste, and creed. And this is the power of prayers. And his father was a very down to earth person, and he will always say, in his own time, in his own place, in what he really is, and in the stage he has reached good or bad. Every human being is a specific element within the whole of the manifest divine being. That is, each and every one of us have a purpose in life here. So we should not be afraid of the difficulties and sufferings and the problems we are facing. In fact, when we are facing troubles, we should try to understand the relevance of our suffering. And in fact, it is at this time we will find the opportunities which we can use in life. And this Abdul Kalam will ask his father, Why don't you say all this to the people who are coming and asking you for help and advice? That time he will say that was not judging the capacity to compliment, but he said, whenever human beings are alone, which is a natural thing, their reaction will be to search for a company. And whenever human beings are in trouble, they will look out if anyone can help them. And whenever they are in a confused state, they will look out for someone who can show them the way. There is a longing in everyone that he should find someone special to help him. And that is why when people come to him in distress, he will try to pray for them and try to do something good to them. Now, this may not be the correct approach, and he is not advising anyone to follow this. But at the same time, he felt that one must understand the difference between a fear-ridden vision of destiny and the vision that enables us to seek the enemy of fulfillment within ourselves. Therefore, when people come to him for help or advice, when he prays for them, people get the satisfaction that what they wanted is something within they hold, and they will definitely come out of the trouble. He says that his father will start his day at 4 o'clock. He will get up in the morning, he will read the namaz before dawn. And after namaz, he will walk 4 miles from their house where they have a small coconut grove. And he'll come back with a dozen coconuts tied over his shoulder. After that only he'll have his breakfast. And actually this was his routine even after he reached his 60 years. And Abdul Kalam thought that he have to be like his father. Only thing is his father went to the coconut grove, but Kalam was involved in the world of science and technology. But he says the fundamental truth which his father revealed to him has convinced that there is an existence of divine power. And this divine power can lift anyone from confusion, misery, melancholy and failure and guide them to the true place. And once an individual server, his emotional and physical bondage will be gone away, and he will reach the road to freedom and happiness, and he will get the peace of mind. When he was 6 years old, his father took the project of building a wooden sailboat. And why he built this sailboat is to take the pilgrims from Rameshwaram to Dhanushkodi. Dhanushkodi is also called as Sedukarai. He will take the pilgrims to Dhanushkodi and bring them back to Rameshwaram. He worked on building this boat, and for him he brought his relative Ahmad Jalaluddin to help him. Jalaluddin later on married Abdul Kalam's sister Zora, and Abdul Kalam is to sit and watch them making this ship, and it was such a nice way how they made the ship, and father also was making good money out of it. But one day a cyclone took the boat away. Not only the boat, Sedukarai was immersed in water. Pamban Bridge collapsed with a train full of passengers in it. Till then, Abdul Kalam had only seen the beauty of the sea. Now only he saw the uncontrollable energy of the sea, and this was a revelation to him. And by the time the boat met its untimely end, Jalaluddin had become a very close friend of his. There was an age difference of 15 years between them, and he used to call Abdul Kalam Azad. And they used to walk together in the evenings. They will go from Mars Street to the sandy shores of the island. And Jalaluddin will mainly speak about spiritual matters. In fact, Kalam says in Rameshwaram, where you find lots of pilgrims coming every day, this is an ordinary conversation which each and everyone will have. And they will go near the temple of Lord Shiva and go around the temple. And he says when we are going around the temple from outside, we also used to feel the energy passing through us. And Jalaluddin will talk about God as though he knows God very well, as though he is a working partnership of his. And he'll even ask doubts to God as if God is standing near them. And Kalam will stare at Jalaluddin and also at the large crowd coming to the temple, taking holy dips in the sea, performing the rituals, saying the prayers. and everything created a sense of respect in him for them. He felt that this is all the power of Almighty. He felt just like how his prayers, which are said in the mosque, will reach the God. He was very sure that the prayers said by these people in the temple also will reach the God. And he also thought that Jalaluddin must have a special connection with God, because Jalaluddin had not completed his school because of his family situation. But he always encouraged Kalam to study very well, and he enjoyed each and every success of Kalam so much. He had never thought about what he had missed in his life, but he was always grateful for what he had got in his life. And in fact, in the whole island, he was one person who could write English. And he wrote letters for anybody who asked him to help out. He will write letters of application or whatever others need, he will write for them. And in his friendship circle, or even in his family, he has not seen anyone having the level of education which Jalaluddin had. And the contact and the link which he had with outer world also was something great. And Jalaluddin will always talk to Abdul Kalam about the educated people, of the scientific discoveries, of the recent literature, and about the achievements of medical science. And he says that it is Jalaluddin who made me know about this brave new world which was beyond my confines. And Abdul Kalam always had a very, very humble environment in his boyhood. And getting books is something very, very rare, because they were not so very rich to buy books. But there was one person, S.T.R. Manikam, who had a personal library. And this S.T.R. Manikam was a former revolutionary or a militant nationalist. And he had this personal library, and also he encouraged Kalam to come and read whatever books he wanted. So Kalam will go very often to his house and borrow books and read. And another person who influenced Kalam in his boyhood is his cousin Samsuddin. Samsuddin was the sole distributor of newspaper in Rameshwaram. The newspapers will come to the Rameshwaram station in the morning train from Pamban. And Samsuddin's newspaper agency was one organization which supplied newspaper to nearly 1,000 people who knew to read and write in Rameshwaram town. And only through these newspapers they came to know about the current developments in the national independence movement. Many people read astrology from this newspaper. Many people would check the bullion rates which were in the current market. And some people will even discuss about Hitler, Mahatma Gandhi and Jinnah. And they used to even discuss about Periyar, that is E.V. Ramasami's movement against high caste Hindus. And Dinatmani was the one of the newspaper which was most sought out. And Kalam used to go along with Samsuddin to collect the newspapers. And in that time he could not read the full newspaper, but he will look at all the pictures in the newspaper. And that really gave him a lot of insight in the current affairs. In 1939, the Second World War broke out. At that time, Kalam was 8 years old. And for some reason, he's saying, I am not able to understand why, there was a sudden demand for the tamarind seeds. So Kalam used to collect the seeds and sell them in a provision shop in his street. For one day's collection, he will get 1 anna. And Jalaluddin used to tell him the stories about the war and all that he will later on go and see in the headlines in Dinamani. Since their area was separate, they were not affected by the war. But soon India joined the Allied forces and emergency was declared in the country. And what happened first is the trains were stopped from stopping in the Rameshwaram station. But the newspaper had to come, and how the newspapers will come is bundles will be thrown out from the moving train on the Rameshwaram road between Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi. Now Samsuddin needed someone to help him to catch the bundles, and naturally he chose Abdul Kalam, and he also paid him, and that was Kalam's first wages. And Kalam says that even after 50 years, I can feel the sense of pride which I had when I had my own money, my first salary. And he says that every child is always getting some characteristics from the socio-economic and emotional environment in which he is trained. And in that way, he says, I inherited honesty and self discipline from my father and from my mother. And I also inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness. And so, in the same way, my three brothers and sisters also inherited these qualities from my parents. And at the same time, the time he spent with Jalaluddin and Samsuddin contributed a lot in his childhood, and that what he received in his childhood only made the difference in his later life. Because Jalaluddin did not go to school, but he was very wise, and Samsuddin also was very intuitive and responsive to non-verbal messages. And he says that these two created this creativity in my childhood. And he had also three close friends, Ramanatha Shastri, Aravindan and Sivapragasa. And these three belonged to very orthodox Hindu Brahmin families, but as children, religion did not interfere in their friendship. In fact, Ramanatha Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, who was the high priest of the Rameshwaram temple. Later on, he also became the priest in Rameshwaram temple after his father, and Aravind started the business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims, and Sivaprakasam became a caterer contractor for the Southern Railways. And during the annual Sri Sita Rama Kalyana ceremony, their family only used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying ideals of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site, which was situated in the middle of the pond called Ramatirtha, which was near to their house. And this grandmother and his mother will always tell all the children the stories of the life of the prophet and also events from Ramayana. So when Kalam was young itself, he learnt both the stories from Muslims and also from the Hindu culture. And one day when he was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to their class. And being a Muslim, Kalam was wearing the cap. And he sat in the front row as usual with Ramanatha Shastri. And Ramanatha Shastri will wear the sacred thread because he is a Hindu. Now the new teacher could not take the idea of a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. And according to the social ranking, because he is a new teacher, he asked Abdul Kalam to go and sit on the back bench. This made Kalam very sad, but Ramanatha Shastri was more sad. In fact, Kalam can still remember the image of Ramanatha Shastri bowing down his head and crying when Abdul Kalam had to go and sit in the last row. And he says that image of him crying left a lasting impression on me. And after school, they went home and they told to their parents about what happened in the school. And Lakshmana Shastri immediately called the teacher, and in front of this, both of them, he told the teacher that he should not spread this poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the mind of these innocent children. And he bluntly told the teacher either to apologize to the children or to quit the school and the island. After his father spoke to him, after listening to Lakshmana Shastri, the teacher also regretted his behavior, and he thought that he should not repeat it again. And this really reformed the young teacher. And Kalam says, on the whole, the small society of Rameshwaram was with different social groups, but they were all together. And his science teacher, Sivasubramanya Iyer, was a very orthodox Brahmin, and his wife was a very conservative wife. But Sivasubramanya Iyer was a rebel. And he did so much to break the social barriers so that all the people from different backgrounds can mingle with each other easily. He will spend a lot of time talking to Kalam, and he will tell to Kalam that he wants Kalam to develop to that level that he will be par with the highly educated people of the big cities. One day he asked Kalam to come home for a meal. His wife could not digest the idea of a Muslim boy coming and eating in a pure ritual kitchen, and she refused to serve him. But Subramanya Iyer did not get angry with his wife. At the same time, he did not stop. He called Abdul Kalam, made him to sit in the kitchen and served him food with his own hands and sat next to him and had his meal. His wife was watching them from behind the door, and Kalam says, I don't know whether she observed the way I ate the rice, drank the water, and cleaned the floor after the meal, because when he left the house, Subramania Iyer asked him to come again next weekend. But Kalam hesitated. But he told, when you want to change the system, you will face some problems and you have to face it. And when he visited Subramania Iyer's house the next week, Subramania Iyer's wife took him into her kitchen and served Kalam food with her own hands. That time, the Second World War got over and everyone were expecting India's freedom. And Gandhiji declared that Indians will build their own India. And the whole country was optimistic. At that time only, Kalam asked his father's permission to go to Ramanathapuram to continue his study. At that time, his father told, Abul, I know that you will have to go away from us if you want to grow. Like how a seagull just goes near the sun alone without a nest. And if you want to fulfill your desires, if you want to fulfill what you have in your mind, our love should not bind you and our needs must not hold you, so you go. But his mother was hesitant. She did not want Kalam to go away from them. That time he told about Khalil Gibran's quotations. Khalil Gibran had said, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. So his mother had no other way but to give him permission to go. And his father took him and his three brothers to the mosque and recited the prayer from Holy Quran. And then he put him on the train at Rameshwaram station. And he said, this island may be housing your body, but not your soul. Your soul dwells in the house of tomorrow, which none of us at Rameshwaram can visit, not even in our dreams. May God bless you, my child. And who came along with him to Ramanathapuram are Samsuddin and Jalaluddin. They came and enrolled him in the Squats High School where he studied, and they arranged for his boarding there. But somehow Kalam did not like that place because Ramanathapuram was populated with 50,000 people and it did not have the harmony of Rameshwaram. He missed his home. So whenever he got an opportunity, he will run away to Rameshwaram. And he knew that educational opportunities were much in Ramanathapuram, but his mother's love, the beautiful sweet polies, that is the 12 varieties of polies which he made, had more attraction for Kalam. And always he was homesick, but at the same time, he knew that his father expected a lot about his success, and he visualized Kalam as a collector, and Kalam felt it was his duty to make his father's dream come true. So though he missed the comforts of Rameshwaram, he concentrated more on his education. And Jalaluddin used to speak about the power of positive thinking. Whenever Kalam used to feel homesick or dejected, he'll think about what Jalaluddin had told him, and he will try very hard to control his thoughts and mind because he felt only that can change his destiny. And ironically, that destiny did not bring him back to Rameshwaram, but took him more away from his home and more away from the family, far away, but to a very great place. This is the summary of chapter 1. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.